the Hollywood Unapologetic Podcast with Orlando Delbert, Filmmaking Essentials.
Today, we're really diving into storytelling, the mechanics, the structure, how it all works across film, TV, streaming, and especially what this means for the new Hollywood generation of creators.
It's a really pivotal time, isn't it? You've got these filmmakers and creators sort of navigating between, the tried and true storytelling methods and all this new tech. And AI, artificial intelligence, is becoming a bigger and bigger part of that conversation.
Exactly. And for this, we've gathered quite a range of material. Stuff from Indie Shorts Mag, Stanford HAI, university blogs like IU Libraries, AJPO Journals, AMT Lab at Carnegie Mellon.
Greg Eckler's The Vicious Circus, Coconut, Wikipedia, always a starting point, Film and Stage Blog, Ingo Studio.
Yeah, even threads on Reddit, No Film School, Studio Binder. It's like a real cross-section of industry takes, academic perspectives, practical advice.
Which is great, because it lets us look at storytelling not just as, art, but also as a craft. A craft that's always changing, adapting to new tools, new ways people watch things.
So our mission today, give you a solid grasp of how stories are built and told right now, and crucially, how AI is fitting into that picture. We want to hit the key points without making your head spin. Okay, so where do we kick this off? The foundations.
Yeah, let's start there. The basic frameworks, the skeletons, if you will.
Right. The classic 3-act structure, setup, confrontation, resolution. It feels like that's still the go-to blueprint for so many stories. Wikipedia, screenwriting guides, they all hammer this home.
It really is the foundation. It gives you that sense of a beginning, middle, end. But it's not the only way. Like Greg Eckler mentions, for longer stuff, maybe a TV season or an epic film, you might see 4 or even 5 acts. Just gives more space for complexity.
And then there's the big one, the hero's journey, the monomyth. Feels like you can't escape it sometimes.
No, you really can't. No Film School, Vicious Circus, they really break down those stages, the ordinary world, the call to adventure, refusing the call.
Meeting the mentor, crossing the threshold, all those tests. And
leading up to the ordeal, the reward, the road back.
Yeah.
It's such an enduring pattern. And you see people talk about this on Reddit too, like, is it still relevant?
And the answer seems to be
yes.
I mean, look at Star Wars, Lord of the Rings.
A Matrix, The Wizard of Oz. No Film School lists these prime examples. It's like this fundamental narrative DNA or something. It just connects.
It really does feel deep-seated. But are there other models? Other ways to shape a narrative?
Oh, definitely. Eckler also brings up the sequence approach. Think of it like breaking a movie down into, say, 8 mini-movies. Each sequence is maybe 10, 15 minutes long, has its own little 3-act thing going on.
So it's more modular, like building blocks.
Kind of, yeah. Helps manage pacing and structure in a longer piece. Then you've got structures from other traditions. Wikipedia mentions Kishitenketsu.
That's the East Asian one. Intro, development, twist, conclusion.
Exactly. It's interesting because the twist isn't always a conflict in the Western sense. Sometimes it's more like a perspective shift before the conclusion. Less driven by direct opposition.
And what about those U-shaped things?
Right. Northrop Frye's idea is mentioned on Wikipedia, too.
Yeah.
The U-shape for comedy things, start okay, get bad, then end well. And the inverted U for tragedy, start well, end badly. More about the story's overall emotional arc.
But like you mentioned with Reddit, there's always that pushback, isn't there? Creators saying, don't just follow the formula, let the story breathe.
Absolutely. And that's crucial, these structures. They're tools, amazing tools to understand. But the best storytellers know when to use the template and when to, break it or bend it, because the story demands something different. It's a guide, not a cage.
Okay, structures down. Now, the techniques within those structures, how storytellers actually, hook us and keep us watching.
Right, the craft itself. So the most basic is linear narrative story unfolds chronologically. Still super common, as Wikipedia notes. But then you get nonlinear stuff.
Flashbacks, flash forwards, playing with time. Coconut and Vicious Circus talk about this.
Yeah, and how powerful it can be. Think Citizen Kane, the classic example Wikipedia points out. Using flashbacks to piece together a life, a mystery. It controlled how we get information.
And now interactivity is huge. Video games, those choose-your-own-adventure style things.
Exactly. Interactive narration, interactive narrative. Wikipedia highlights how this fundamentally changes the audience's role. You're not just passive anymore.
You're shaping it.
Precisely. And even in, say, graphic novels, Wikipedia mentions their own typical structure. Introduction, complication, resolution, denouement. Each medium finds its own rhythms.
But across all of them, character seems absolutely vital if you don't care about the characters.
The whole thing falls apart, right? The AJPO Journals piece really emphasized this. Characterization, how you reveal who they are, plus dialogue, internal thoughts. That's how you get engagement.
It mentioned some studies too, didn't it?
Yeah, Brown in 2019, Jones in 2020, finding that clear motivations, real conflicts, characters who aren't just one note, that's what hooks people. And authentic dialogue is key for that immersion.
Makes total sense. Believable people, believable stakes.
And that's maybe even more critical in short-form video, which Coconut focused on. You have so little time.
So you need shortcuts.
Well, efficient techniques. Coconut mentions using nonlinear bits to create instant intrigue, visual metaphors, symbolism, packing meaning into images. And yeah, twist endings work well in short formats. Visual storytelling has to do a lot of heavy lifting.
Okay, let's talk about the stage itself, the world the story happens in, world building.
Studio Binder has a nice, simple definition.
Hmm.
Imagining, designing, implementing the story's world. And that makes such a good point. It's not just for wizards and spaceships.
Right. They use Taxi Driver as an example. Building the world of 1970s New York, that grime, that atmosphere, it's essential.
Totally. It creates immersion, authenticity, whether it's a fantasy realm or a real place at a specific time. And Studio Binder notes how that world then feeds back into the characters, the plot. The setting isn't just wallpaper. It shapes the story.
It influences what can happen, who the characters are.
Exactly.
Okay, let's shift slightly to the business end, maybe, especially for folks aiming for Hollywood. Screenwriting staples.
Right. Film Estate's blog had a good breakdown of log lines, synopses, treatments. These are like the pitching documents of development tools.
A log line, that's the elevator pitch, yeah.
Yeah.
One sentence, grab them fast.
Pretty much. Film Estate says Hollywood likes them tight. Like 25, 35 words. Who's the hero? What's the conflict? What's at stake? Boom.
Then the synopsis is a bit longer.
Yeah, a few pages, maybe 300, 500 words, according to Film Estate. Gives the whole story arc, usually 3 acts, present tense, to make it feel immediate.
And the treatment is the most detailed, short of a full script.
Right. Anywhere from like 2 to 30 pages, Film Stage suggests. It reads more like a short story version, really lets people visualize the film or show. It's a roadmap.
Helps get everyone on the same page before the heavy lifting of script writing starts.
Exactly. Clear blueprints.
Okay. Foundational structures, techniques, world building, practical tools. Now, the big disruptor, or maybe collaborator, AI, this feels huge for that new Hollywood generation.
It really does. And the key framing, like Ingo Studio emphasizes, is seeing AI mostly as a tool to empower creators, not, replace them outright.
So how is it actually being used? Ingo Studio mentioned analyzing data, learning patterns, generating stuff.
Yeah, generating ideas, for one, brainstorming plot points, maybe even crafting some basic dialogue or creating concept visuals.
Indie Shorts Mag talked about the dialogue generation, too. He said it can mimic, like, surface-level chat pretty well, good for a first pass, maybe crowd scenes.
Exactly, get something on the page. But they also pointed out, and this is important, that the emotional subtext, it's often flat. AI doesn't quite get the nuance, the feeling behind the words. Not yet, anyway.
But it can help with polishing, rewriting.
Definitely. Indie Shorts Mag highlighted this. AI can spot repetition, suggest tighter phrasing, maybe offer different tones. They call the suggestions conversation starters, which feels right. It prompts you to think differently.
Like a second pair of eyes that never gets tired.
Sort of. And for research. Indie Shorts Mag says it's great. Pulling facts, terminology, historical details, even simulating period language. Huge time saver, potentially.
Ingo Studio listed a ton of applications. Brainstorming, like we said, but also identifying plot holes, suggesting alternatives. They mentioned pseudo-write as a tool for that.
Yeah, helping with character arcs, generating backstories, motivations based on archetypes, even world-building descriptions of places, cultures.
Fictional languages.
Yeah,
wow.
Potentially, yeah. And analyzing real conversation patterns to make generated dialogue sound more natural. They mentioned character.ai and Replica as tools people use to play with dialogue ideas.
It's moving beyond just text, too. Ingo Studio mentioned film uses.
Right. Generating script drafts, helping with special effects creation, even personalizing trailers. And in games, powering NPCs, creating procedural levels, dynamic storylines.
It feels like it's touching almost every part of the process.
It's starting to, yeah. We also need to mention generative AI specifically.
That's the AI that creates new things.
Exactly. Like Ingo Studio explained, it learns patterns from massive data sets and then generates new text, images, audio, code. Think GPT-4o for text, DLE for images. Those are becoming quite well known.
So for this new generation of creators, it's like this Swiss Army knife of potential tools.
That's a good way to put it. Tools for efficiency, for maybe breaking through creative blocks, for exploring things they couldn't before.
But it's not all smooth sailing, is it? The WGA strike last year, AI was a big part of that discussion.
A very big part. As Indie Shorts Mag noted, the strike wasn't only about AI fair pay. Streaming residuals, staffing levels were huge, but AI definitely added fuel to the fire.
What were the writers' main fears about AI?
The big one was studios using AI to cut corners, like getting a rough AI-generated draft and then just hiring a human writer to clean it up without proper credit or fair pay, devaluing the writer's initial creative work.
Undermining the role, essentially.
That was the core fear. And there are limitations we already touched on. That emotional depth and dialogue, still missing, according to Indie Shorts Mag. AI can mimic, but it doesn't feel.
And Indie Shorts Mag also said AI can't just fix everything in a rewrite. It helps you notice things maybe, but the human writer still has to do the real work.
Right. Then you have the broader ethical stuff. John Thixton at Stanford HAI brought up concerns about the economic impact on artists. Who owns AI-generated work? Copyright issues when AI trains on existing art.
Yeah, huge questions. And Thixton also mentioned it's just hard to predict where this tech is heading, what the full implications will be.
And Ingo Studio flagged the bias issue. AI learns from data, and if that data has biases, which it often does, the AI can perpetuate harmful stereotypes, exclude voices.
So ethical guardrails are super important.
Crucial. Plus, Ingo Studio made the point that AI currently lacks genuine emotional intelligence, empathy, critical thinking. Those uniquely human elements are still vital for truly compelling stories. The human creator remains central.
And the unions are responding, right? SAG-AFTRA.
Yes, the Actors Union. AMT Lab at CMU highlighted their new agreement. It sets up actual definitions and rules for using digital replicas of performers.
Like created from their image.
Yeah, employment-based replicas, independently created ones, even ones made from background actors, and also rules for synthetic performers, those created purely by generative AI, not based on a real person.
What kind of rules?
Guidelines around consent, how the replicas can be used, and importantly, compensation. AMT Lab called these revolutionary guidelines for AI in entertainment, setting precedents.
So the industry is actively trying to figure out how to integrate this responsibly.
It's a work in progress, but yes, there's a definite push to establish boundaries and protections.
Okay, so let's try and pull this together, especially for that new Hollywood generation listening. We've seen how story structures are like the blueprints.
Narrative techniques are the tools to build engagement. World building creates the immersive space.
And AI. It's this powerful, fast-evolving toolkit. It offers ways to be more efficient, maybe spark new ideas, explore different kinds of narratives across film, TV, short form.
But it comes with big questions. Ethical considerations, limitations, the ongoing need for that human touch, that human creativity and oversight.
So this really was about laying out those foundations, the storytelling craft, and starting to unpack how AI is becoming part of that craft for today's and tomorrow's creators.
Hopefully giving you a solid base to understand both the enduring principles and the cutting-edge changes happening right now.
Okay, final thought to leave you with then. Thinking about the new Hollywood generation, how might the practical day-to-day of making films, TV shows, web series change as these AI tools get better and more integrated?
Yeah, what new workflows might emerge? What creative doors might open up when humans and AI really start collaborating more deeply on bringing stories to the screen?
Yeah.
How do you harness the power without losing the soul?
Lots to think about there. Definitely keep exploring these ideas, see how they resonate with your own work or interests.
Absolutely. It's a space that's going to keep changing rapidly. You can find more insights on navigating the entertainment industry and achieving success in Orlando Delbert's work, including his book, Pollyanna's Tear-Soaked Battlefields of Hollywood, a survival guide against the cynicism and the hypocritical, and of course, the Hollywood Unapologetic platform. And always remember, you are the key to your own success. You are the new Hollywood generation.
Be informed, be prepared, and most importantly, be great.
That's it. Be great. Good luck out there.
See you next time.